Hi, my name is Esther Kemani. I am a childbirth educator. I am a childcare expert and an infant nutritionist. And today we are here to talk about feeding your baby solids. What do you do? How do you start? How do you navigate that extra challenging time for most of us? I know most of us even wish sometimes we can go back to breastfeeding because you're finding giving your baby solids quite a challenge. So today we are going to talk about that. We hope that you are going to time, you are going to ask your questions, that you're going to, have a bit more knowledge than at the beginning of this session. So, hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm just trying to balance my phone so it doesn't fall out a window.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Hi, can you see me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. I'm like right where I'm done, so I'm just hoping that my makeup doesn't just like melt off my face. But nice to meet you. I've never met you. We've never spoken.
Yes. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm great. I'm doing great.
Okay, I'm thinking we should just wait like maybe 1 minute or something to wait for a few more people to and introduce ourselves because we can't assume that everybody knows us. I feel like,
True.
Is that a fake baby you have with you there?
Yes, my baby.
Oh my God, that baby looks very happy. He looks very fat and healthy.
That baby, he's not educated.
All right, exactly. Okay, we have reached the minimum number of 100 people. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Okay, so maybe we should just go ahead and introduce ourselves. Do you want to go first? Oh, you already, but just introduce yourself again because a few more people are joining.
Yes, I had. Anyway, my name is Esther the Doula. I am a doula, a childbirth educator, a lactation specialist, but my passion is nutrition. I'm an infant nutritionist as well. And I support mothers all the way from pregnancy, from when you become pregnant. I also do maternal nutrition, like nutrition for when you're pregnant, all the way to when your baby's turning 2. And so I support you in that whole spectrum as you try and navigate the care of your baby. Yes.
Is that what the meaning of the word doula is, by the way? Because I don't know why I've always thought that doula is just somebody who helps you when you're giving birth. Doula is all those things that you.
Yes. So we have two kinds of doulas. We have birth doulas, and we also have postpartum doulas. But beyond that, so I'm both of that, but I've also added other things to my portfolio. I love supporting parents. So gone back to school, done a lot of these other things so that I can offer a full package to the mamas. Yeah.
Okay, that makes. I feel like I should have researched that before I had my 3 children. Now it's a bit late. But anyway, okay, so let me introduce myself. Hi, guys. I am Joanne Muni, aka Yummy Mommy. I know a lot of people don't even know that that's my actual name, but guess what? That's my name. And I am of 3 beautiful little angels. I have Ethan, who is 10, Mukeni, who is 2. She's just about to turn 3. And then I have Mutana, who's my little angel. She is 5 months old, just about to be 6 months. So this topic is like very timely for me. Like, it doesn't matter how many kids you have, you always feel like a bit of anxiety. You're approaching that, like, now we have to move from just drinking milk to all these other things. But yeah, so happy to be here. I'm your facilitator, and Esther is our expert. Esther, how long have you been a doula?
11 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So you are very experienced then, we can say. Right?
This a while. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Everyone in, please feel free to send any of your questions as we speak. Then we can answer whatever comes in, or as we are speaking, or answer them at the end. But just keep sending in your questions based on, our topic is weaning, so we're gonna keep it specifically on weaning or complementary feeding. But just send in your questions, and we're gonna be able to answer them as we speak. All right. So what are let's start with like the most basic, the basic question. What is complementary feeding and what is it?
Yes. So Complementary feeding is the introduction of solids to your little one. So we expect that you will give your baby milk, either breast milk or a different milk if you really cannot be able to do exclusive breastfeeding. But we do encourage exclusive breastfeeding too, up to 6 months. And so it's introducing solids to your baby, giving them an introduction to your world of eating. And we don't call it weaning anymore. And that's why we're not saying weaning, because weaning actually means stopping. It makes people think that now milk stops being very important. So we call it complementary feeding because we want to make sure that your baby is still having milk. Milk is still the main food. And so we're adding solids to just saidia the milk, to help the milk. So that's why we call it complementary feeding. Yes.
Okay. And at what age is it recommended for you to start the complementary feeding?
So it is 6 months, exactly 6 months. We usually say 6 months from your due date, from when you are due. So it means that sometimes if you get a premature baby who was born maybe at 36 weeks or thereabout, you might need to wait a little longer. And so it's not only just looking at the time that your baby has reached 6 months, but also that your baby is showing signs that they are ready. Because there are signs that your baby is ready to eat. Some of them are like your baby is able to sit up. Your baby is able to do a press up. You know, when you put them on their tummy, they're able to do like keep their head like that. That's important. Your baby should be able to look very, very interested in what you're eating. So they're recognizing that there's something that you're eating that's not milk that I'm having. Yeah, you know, so they're really interested in food. They should have doubled their birth weight. So if they're born at 3 kilos, they should be at least 6 kilos. And then at the end of, they should be able to, when they look at you chewing, they should also be trying to chew. So you see them trying to copy your chewing motion. So those are some of the signs that your baby is ready for feeding. So for premature babies especially, we usually look at that as well, not just that the baby has reached 6 months. An example is my baby. My baby was a preemie baby. So at 6 months, she was not ready. So she was 2 months early, and we ended up having to feed at 8 months because that's when she was ready. But for a baby full term, then 6 months is the recommended age. Yeah.
So I'm a CS mom, which I am a CS mom. My baby was born 2 weeks before my due date. So should I wait until 2 weeks after?
No, 38 weeks is a full-term baby. So that's okay. But again, now you look at the signs of readiness. So it means that you can buy a bit more time in terms of starting, or you can start a much slower, and that's okay.
Okay. I'm already seeing so many people sending in so many questions. I know there's some questions people had sent to us before, so I want to address some of those first. A lot of people feel like I almost hear this every single day. Like before a child even gets to 6 months, like a child is 4 months, and someone is like, lakini mama yangu alisema, no, the baby is crying too much, keeps waking up every 1 hour, needs to wean. Is that recommended? Because I see people even at like 3 months, 4 months, they're giving their baby uji. Is that something you recommend?
No, because remember, your baby, when they're born, they have what you call an immature gut. So that means the gut is all the way from the throat down to the tummy, down to the intestines. It's immature. So first of all, I think you've noticed how babies, when you put something in their mouth, especially the small babies, like the 2-3 month old, when you put something in their mouth, so that it's a tongue reflex that actually is supposed to push out every solid to protect them, because the brain knows that that thing you're putting in me, I can't handle it. So you find that small babies will push it out, and that's another thing at 6 months. You'll notice that now the baby stops doing that thing. Now they open their mouth wide. So they that tongue thrust reflex, waiting to be able to eat solids. So their gut is not ready. There are enzymes that help digest food. So before 6 months, these enzymes are not ready. So basically, when you give a baby food, it will just go and come out the other side. It will be no benefit to the baby because the baby can't digest it. So that's why we say, if the breast milk is not enough, look for, talk to your doctor so that they can advise you on another milk that will help to supplement your breast milk. Look for lactation specialists. They'll be able to help you how to increase your milk supply, for example. So that at least you get up to 6 months as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay, so before, I want us to answer this question because it's about like just before you start to complementary feed, what can you substitute with from formula and breast milk? Assuming you don't have formula and you don't have breast milk, what is the next best option for somebody?
That's usually such a tough question in
I
terms
know.
of, because cow milk is so hard on baby's tummy, and so most of them are not able to digest it well. And that's why for us, number one is to try and get mommy to get more milk. So getting ways to help you, help you express a bit more milk, get milk out. Formula is the next best thing. But then now we start looking at other milks that you can modify. We found that goat milk tends to be slightly easier than cow milk. Not that it's the best, but slightly easier. Yeah, so that goat milk might be a bit easier. Camel milk for some babies, as you supplement your breast milk with it. But as much as possible, these are options that they're not perfect for the baby. They tend to be quite. Yeah, but if kabisa you don't have formula, then try and ask your mom to keep a goat for you so you can collect the milk. But yeah, that tends to be a bit, but best is breast milk. Then if you really, really can't, we go back to formula. Yeah.
Okay, so assuming you've been giving your baby your breast milk or your formula, and now you've reached the point where we have seen all those signs you've mentioned, and now you're like, I'm sure my baby is now ready to eat. What are the do's? Like, how do I start now to feed my baby? What do I start with and how do I do it?
Yes. So starting, one of the things we talk about complementary feeding and what WHO recommends is that everyone should be fed, babies should be fed according to the family foods. So first of all, at the back of your mind, you should give the foods based on your family diet. So it's very varied across the world. There are foods that everyone has used for generations. And we don't want to say now all these babies have to be fed the same way. That's not true. We are all from different parts of the country, different parts of the world. So I always say, talk to your people. What did your grandmother feed your mother on? And all that. And find a way to get that balance. As we talk, I want us to be cooking a meal so that at the end of this, we can look at a texture, the textures of food. And I don't know if you can see. Oh,
what is that?
You can see some color, right?
What it is.
Yeah. So I've got some carrots here. I've got some butternut. I've got a courgette. I've got some potato.
Okay.
I've got some meat that's coming, and so we are going to be preparing a balanced meal for a baby. And this kind of meal around 6.5 months. By 6.5 months, going to 7 months, your baby will be ready for this. So it's a meal that baby will be able to eat. And I'll ask my assistant to be helping me load this as we talk.
Okay, so I know when a lot of people feel like when you start, like me personally, when I started to wean my child, I started with like a fruit. So I started with like pawpaw or avocado. Is that recommended?
No, actually. So I love the look on your face.
This is news to me.
So we recommend, number one, to start off with a starch. Because the reason we feed babies is because of 3 things. I mean, if you had a lot of milk, you'd continue breastfeeding, wouldn't you? But there are 3 things that being very necessary that breast milk is not able to give the baby. And the first one is energy. So that's why most people say, oh, my baby actually looks hungry. They're hungry. So the body is not able to provide enough energy. Your breast milk is not able to provide enough energy. So giving milk, you need to add energy. So starch, as we know, carbohydrates are what give us energy. So number one, we always say start with a carbohydrate. Secondly, ensure that the carbohydrate you're offering is bland. Now, when you start with fruit, it's sweet, right? So
Yeah.
I've seen, I think there's someone who was asking me a question actually. Now, when I give my baby food, they just want fruit.
They want this, yeah, of course.
If
The
you
purple
give
is
a sweet thing, then now you're giving uji. They're like, what's that? I don't want. Yeah. So we start off with a starch. Ideally, it should be kind of bland, so that more of the bland type of family. And
Yeah.
for me, I actually recommend that fruits is the last thing you introduce closer to 7 months. Yeah,
God.
I know.
I've been doing all wrong, sis.
Yeah. So so we have this excellent product here from Avent. I don't know. Yes, I want you to be able to see it. I don't think you're able to see it. Let me move it slightly.
For a child
Yeah.
of how?
This one from 6 months, right? So this one, the food, the steamer blender from Philips is able to prepare your food. You can prepare the food, especially those first few days when you're thinking of, okay, I need to prepare the food in a way that will maintain the moisture, maintain the nutrients of the food, and it has some water that you will use because it's steaming the food, right? We will add some oil later, but we'll steam the food, and the amount that you're cooking will help you determine how much water you're going to use. So as we speak, we can be steaming, and I think this is around 150 ml of food, so just put that.
A question as you do that, because you've said that can be a child of 6 months.
Yes.
One, all the things that I've ever read about weaning, they always say that you need to introduce foods to your child one by one so that you can know if they react in it. So this is not a meal that you should start with. Like,
yes, this is not what you're starting with. Yes.
Okay.
This is now you've tested a few things. That's why I'm saying this meal will be closer to 7 months. So you've had almost the whole month to introduce, you figured out what foods are working. But also that thing of one by one food is not really what you should do for a 6-month-old. So that thing of testing one by one, we used to do it because we used to feed babies at 4 months. Remember, a long time ago? So we had a lot of time to catch up. Now, if you do one, your baby will start getting deficiencies, because it means you will finish for 9 months, isn't it? One. So we actually talk about groups of foods. So like, for example, so the rules are the starches that you're using. Number one should be the ones that you eat yourself. Why? Those are the same foods that the baby has been eating when you are pregnant and when you are breastfeeding. So they've been passed on to the baby through the placenta and through the breast milk. So they're familiar to your baby. So introducing foods you don't eat actually is one reason why babies react to. So for example, do you eat butternut, yummy mommy, yourself?
I do. Personally, I do. I love butternut a lot.
So you should give your baby. But someone else who does not eat butternut, then you give the baby becomes constipated because their system has never encountered that butternut. So give foods that you eat yourself, right? So we start off with light grains, and light grains the grain family because they have a lot of starch. So that mom who is starting can start off maybe, for example, with a rice cereal or rice porridge.
Good.
Actually,
that's one to start with.
Yes, or they can do maize porridge, just the maize flour for ugali, the maize flour, and then put the flour, make the porridge a nice porridge, and it needs to be thick enough that it doesn't drop from a spoon. It should not be the one that's so watery. It needs to be dense so that it has enough energy. And then we usually recommend you add some oil. So you can use like salted butter, or you can use some olive oil, or whichever oil you have at home, sunflower oil, and just put a little as you finish cooking the porridge. So you start off with that, giving the baby as a fast meal. So the first 3 days, you will give that food once a day. And the portion, once a day.
But what are we?
Once a day. And the portion is this. I don't know if you can see, which is basically 2 tablespoons. So it's 2 tablespoons of, so it's around, if you're counting in terms of mLs, it's around 30 ml. So you give 2 tablespoons, and that's it, once a day. And so what you're going to do, you're going to make sure that you're cooking the porridge once a day with the baby. You can choose, I prefer a time that baby is active, baby is looking happy, not when the baby wants to sleep. You always feed your baby when they want to be fed. So look for signs of hunger, look for signs of interest in the food, look for when the baby is not tired. So depending, there's no perfect time. It's the perfect time for your baby. And then I'll give the baby that. So you'll do that for 3 days. Then on the 3rd day, the same food you're giving, you give twice a day. Yeah.
What time? What time and what time?
Like now, maybe morning and late afternoon, right?
Okay.
So the same porridge, whichever porridge you decided.
On day 3.
On day 3. Yes. Then on the next 3 days, you give 3 times a day. So what are you doing? You're opening the gut slowly. You're not in a hurry. We're not in a hurry. You're going slowly. You're giving 2 spoons, Not, people give a whole cup. That baby will become constipated. I've seen a lot of questions about constipation. Yeah. The baby will become constipated. So you give 2 tablespoons, and that's it. And then you give water. And you can give, sips of water, a tablespoon or 2, and then now let the baby continue with breast milk the rest of the time. So that's how you start. Yeah.
Okay. Are there foods you said, so for foods for us to try is that you give it not just necessarily one by one, but like groups of foods at a go, right? I think someone has asked about that. Are there particular foods you'd say we need to avoid when starting complementary feeding?
So the foods that we avoid are foods that we generally know cause allergies, right? So stuff like eggs, for example, will be a no-no. Seafood. So we say if you're looking, like for example, fish is a fantastic rate, but don't give seafood. Don't give like prawns, for example. But you can give river fish, like freshwater fish, like fillet and omena, those ones that come from fresh water. Other things are like any foods that can cause choking, like nuts. If you're giving grapes, they have to be really cut into small pieces or, mashed or blended. And anything that if you have a history of allergies, like for example, babies with eczema, you might want to avoid wheat. You might want to avoid citric fruits, and for a while, but not forever, but at least for a while. But for majority of babies, they are actually able to eat. That's why we waited for 6 months, because their enzymes are mature. They're able to eat a variety of foods right from 6 months. And proteins are important. Actually, people don't give babies protein. Proteins are important.
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm one of those people. I started with like they have the butternut potatoes, and what then by proteins was like month 9 over there.
Yes. But what happens is one of the things that is lacking in breast milk is iron. So by 6 months, the iron that your baby had stored for themselves when you are pregnant is over. So you need to start giving foods that are rich in iron. And would I say most iron is carried by foods like meats. So when you talk about meats, so we start off with like white meats. You can do chicken. Chicken liver. Chicken liver is so rich in iron. It's a liver, right? So you can start with chicken liver. You can start off with some fish. You can start off with some fillet, right?
Yeah.
You can start off with, I have a piece of chicken here. I'll show you which we've added there. So this is like a piece of chicken that's, that's just boneless. We've just removed the fat and the meat. And babies don't need a lot. A small piece would be enough. And that meat you add on to the baby's food. So by the end of the 6th month, you should be giving proteins, because they need to start getting iron. And so you can also do light legumes. The light legumes I'm talking about, like white beans. Like, for example, what beans do you eat in your home? What kind of legumes?
Peas, sometimes we do those yellow.
Peas are great. Yeah. Do you eat a lentil? Dal, the small Indian seeds. So those are fantastic. They're rich in iron. they are rich in the nutrients that the baby will do. And it is important. A baby is a human being. They need a balanced diet. So you just spend first week is for trying out a solid. So you give the same solid. By week 2, you start off with, as I said, groups of food. So you will start off like the way my meal was here. You take a certain kind of starch. So for example, you can say, this time, this week I'm doing the vegetable starches, right? Yeah. So day 1, you do potato, like Irish potato, or sweet potato. I have a sweet potato here, sweet potato. Or you can say, you know, a different kind of, or banana, you know, the matoke. So you take a potato, and then you take one type of veg, right? Okay. So you can say like, this is courgette, or you can have, by the way, butternut is a vegetable, or pumpkin. It's not a starch. Yeah. So you add that, or you can have some boga, you know, some green leafy, or you can have some broccoli. So you choose one of each from each food group, and then you maybe have kidogo part of. You can start off with the black beans, like 2 or 3 in the meal. So you prepare that meal. Now, it is important for the baby's food to be tasty. So you should cook the food based on your family meals. So if in your family, like for example, do you cook with garlic?
We do. And in fact, I've seen someone asking here, can you add garlic and onions to the baby's?
Yes. So the food should taste, if I taste your baby's food, it should taste exactly like yours. So you can, yes, of course you'll mash it, but you've prepared it in the same way so that the baby gets the flavor of the home. Most people say, I've given my baby everything they don't want to eat. Some babies, by the way, will eat anything. There are some babies who will not eat food that's not tasty. So you have to, you know, add some spices, add some dania, add some hohos, add some. So you go slowly adding the meal. So they start, do one combination, do that for 2 days. Then you take another combination. You can take ugali. If baby can take porridge, see baby ugali. I don't know why we don't give our babies ugali. Yeah, so you can do ugali and do a small, you know, stew of for example, cook a soft ugali. Then on the side, do a soft stew of some boga and some bini and some, you know, whatever you enjoy. And then mash that together and baby can eat, or blend that together. Basically, mash, or if you're blending, or if you're pureeing it, you need to puree. That's why we are cooking. You need to puree it. It needs to be thick. Your baby needs texture, so you can't make it so, you know, so runny. Your baby needs to learn how to chew, so we need to give them something that will make them chew. Yes.
Even from the beginning.
Even from the beginning. So it's you see, what's the difference? If I take something very light, like water, for example, all I need to do is swallow it. But if you take mashed potatoes, don't you have to chew? If you take mashed potatoes, even if they're nice and soft, you still need to chew. Exactly. So the baby's texture of food needs to be, you know, texture. It needs to be heavy. So the rule is, it shouldn't be like the water, where the water is, let me just show you. So it shouldn't be pouring like that. Yeah. If I do that, it should drop, not pour like water. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want us to talk about a little bit about constipation, because I've seen a couple of people asking. So you said one of the things that causes constipation when complementary feeding is giving the baby too much food, guys. She said don't give the baby a whole cup. Start by just giving like 2 tablespoons, because if you give them too much, they're going to not be able to process it. What else leads to constipation, so that we can know to avoid it? And how do we deal with it if it comes?
Okay, so the second thing that causes constipation is giving too much vegetables. Yeah, so most of us, you see in your head, you're thinking like an adult, You're thinking, my plate should be, you know, a lot of vegetables, and since it's a baby, you can give more vegetables. Now, babies can't handle too much roughage, because you know vegetables have roughage, so they can't handle too much roughage. So you need to give, actually, when you're thinking of the baby, you need to make sure that half the food is a starch. So potato in your mob, ugali in your mob, or rice is what is a lot, and then kidogo portion of it is a starch, and the smallest portion, is a protein, and the smallest portion is the vegetable. So overdoing vegetables can also cause constipation. The other thing is not cooking your baby's food with fats and oil. Now, whichever oil you choose to use, oil is very important for the digestion of food, and especially for the digestion of vegetables. So one of the things that most of us do when you go to the clinic at 6 months, you're given a vitamin A, for the baby, and it's because most of us don't cook with oil. So a lot of times you cannot digest any vegetable. Like for example, if I eat a carrot, I can't digest it if I don't eat it with oil. So if you don't cook baby's food with oil, it means inafika kwa gut, and then it can't because the baby can't.
Wow.
Yeah. So you must cook your baby's food with oil. The third thing is not giving your baby water. Yeah. So once your baby starts eating solids, your baby needs to start taking water. Give water. Baby don't like water. Yeah. So you need to give small, around between 80 to 100 ml the whole day. So you just keep the whole day. So keep giving small sips of water through the day. Now, there are some foods that we know for sure, for some babies, they cause constipation. And some of them are carrots, unfortunately. Carrots are a trigger, For some babies, I know, right? So for some babies, butternut, for some babies, pumpkin, not pumpkin, pawpaw. Some babies, bananas, especially if the bananas are not very, very ripe. So if you're giving your baby bananas, they need to be really, really ripe. Almost the ones that you see have dots. You know, the banana has ripened so that sugar is easier for them to break down. And for some, wimbi, which we really love giving our babies wimbi as a start. So for me, I usually recommend that for wimbi, if your baby is getting constipated, maybe withdraw the wimbi, do other flours like oats, like maize, like rice, you know, the lighter, easier kind of flour before you move to the heavier one, like wimbi maybe at 7 or 8 months. So those are some of the things that they can look at to see if they're eating those foods, most likely they're the ones causing the constipation. And lastly, cow milk. Cow milk is a big contributor to constipation. That's why we are saying you really, really need to wait on cow milk before introducing it to your baby. Yeah.
Thing there that I want ladies to take out of it is that also no, babies are not the same. There's like some babies will have purpose and it'll be great for them.
Exactly.
The others it will constipate them. So you need to like give it to your baby and then you
give. Yes. Exactly. You give. That's why you're testing. Yeah. So if you're finding they're constipated, go back to to what you gave and see. Be it, can I change? Can I vary it? And then see if that's better. Yes. Yeah.
So whoever asked about the mLs of water, she said 80 to 100 mLs of water per day. So divide that compared to the number of meals. So I guess you should be giving the baby after every meal, you give them a bit of water, right?
Actually, I recommend that you don't put the water to be together with the meals. Just the same way that you take water all the time. So give water like the same way you usually have a bottle of water there of milk. Have a bottle of water that you give the baby through the day. That's how you teach your baby to take water. And that's why most people say my baby's not taking any water because you're trying to give Sazila Meshiba. When the baby's full, they won't want water. So you want to give through the day when they're not so hungry. They're more likely to want to take it at that time. Yeah.
Okay. Someone is asking when they're cooking the food, can they add salt?
Yes. So salt is important. And I know salt is really controversial. Yeah. The thing is the amount. It's the amount. And especially because most babies, breast milk is able to give your baby enough iodine. The reason we eat salt is because of iodine. And so we actually, literally, you put a pinch, a pinch. So use your hand to put a pinch just to help in helping your baby meet their demand for iodine. So you're not giving too much, just a little. And most times I usually say from 7 months, because 7 months now the baby starts eating a bit more, you can introduce the salt at that time, but just a very small amount. It's not salt to taste. It's more for salt to help to supplement and get your baby to get enough iodine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about something that I've seen someone asking about, baby-led weaning. There's those guys
Yes.
who are mashing and blending. That's me. I can never try this other one. But there are people who
Yes.
also be baby-led weaning. Can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about the difference between those two and which you would recommend and why?
Baby-led weaning. As we talk about that, someone will be helping me to blend the food. It's actually, I think, ready. And
Yeah.
and what we'll do is the thing with this. It's amazing because once the food cooks, you use the same. Yeah, you just turn it, twist it, yes, and it gets to blend. Yeah, it gets to blend the food. And so your blending, just make sure. Yes, just make sure that you get just the right consistency. And so it's amazing, especially when you're in a hurry, yeah? So you can prep the food in the morning for moms, prep the food. And then when you get home in the evening, it's like, literally, this time as we're talking, the food is like ready, right? So it's an amazing tool that you can purchase.
That you're going to add salt and you're going to add oil because you've told us to do that.
Yes. So we are going to add oil. That's why I have some oil here. So we are going to add oil. I'll just wait for the just remove the food a bit. Yeah, and I'll have my assistant there just serve for me the food in here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it has a nice spatula.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it has a nice spatula that can help you.
That's a nice. That was literally like 5 seconds of blending. I love
you
that.
can see that it's not at fine the way people do, like very fine. Even from there you can see the texture. See, the food is dropping, yeah? It's not flowing, it's dropping from the plate, and if you want, you can now add either some butter. Butter is fantastic, or you can just take a little oil, just a little, like a little smidget, like half a teaspoon, and just add it in there. Because it's olive oil. Remember, we don't cook olive oil. Olive oil does well at room temperature. So if olive oil is a good oil to add onto food after it's cooked, because it doesn't have a very high melting point. So, but if you wanted, you can. One of the moms I saw on the side, so she would use this. Then on the side, she would take some onions with some garlic on a pan with some oil and cook that. And then once it's ready, just pour that in here. So it makes the food so flavorful and nice. So you can see the color, right? It's so nice, vibrant. It's got so much. It's complete. It's got meat. It's perfect, and your baby can eat. And as you see this, because it's lumpy enough, the baby is able to chew. So from around up to around 7.5, 8 months, the baby will be comfortable with this. Then you find them just swallowing the food. So when you see them doing that, blend it less. Like maybe just do a once off, and so that now it's more lumpy. So you go increasing the lumps as the baby grows.
Okay. Are you adding salt there? I haven't seen you adding salt.
Yes, we had added into, because salt needs to cook, yeah? So you add salt at the beginning as you're just a pinch into the food. Yes.
Okay. Back to the question. And now, because we only have 20 minutes and we need to get through all these questions, Esther, you're going to have to answer these questions like flash. So we can get... So tell us what baby-led weaning is, and would you recommend it for if someone wants to try that?
Yes. So baby-led weaning means that you allow your baby to guide the process of getting solids. So number one, it means that you are not even going to do much of the mashing food because it's the baby feeding themselves. So you would prepare the food, and you would have to make one mistake that people do is try and make the pieces very small. Because you're giving the baby this, but babies don't know how to navigate this. So you would prepare the meals, make some courgettes, cut some carrots, cut some whichever meal that you're doing. Have even of meat like that. So it needs to be big because babies eat like this. Babies don't eat like this. So they hold like this, and then they
they will eat, and then when it's small, they'll actually drop it. So baby-led means that the baby gets to feed themselves. So they need to be comfortably sitting. For you to know that your baby can feed themselves, they need to be sitting down. They should be able to have a good hand grip, so that they're able to actually hold the food. They should be able to have been able to master the hand-to-mouth movement, picking up something and taking it to the mouth. And so any baby can, some babies might not be quite ready at 6 months, a baby need time. And so if your baby is not yet ready, then it wouldn't make sense to do baby-led weaning. But if your baby is ready, they look very interested, and especially some babies who don't like being fed. I find that those babies are usually very good candidates. I saw a question about the baby has refused anything. Those are the babies that you do baby-led weaning. Let them feed themselves. You find that they feed much better. And they'll eat. They'll pour half the food down, by the way, but at the end of it all, they'll eat. So the food has to be like big, like long chunks so that the baby is able to eat. But you can do a combination of the two. So you can prepare the food like this one, prepare it and have it side, and then prepare like 1 or 2, and give the baby. So I see some moms saying that works better because at least you're sure the baby has taken something. So as the baby eats, you give them like 1 or 2 spoons of the food that you've prepared. So at the end of it all, you're achieving both. You're making sure baby is getting quite enough, because sometimes that's the challenge with baby-led weaning. Sometimes the baby does not eat adequately, an adequate amount, and then now let them feed themselves. So it's like a win-win situation for that one.
Okay, so you recommend one over the other? Moms should just choose which one they think will work best for them, Ama?
And what's best for the baby, because if some babies just baby-led will not work, because maybe they're not yet even there at being able to feed themselves. So they give food, they just play with it, they're not eating. So you might need to give that baby more time. So that's why I'm saying you can do a combination. So cook some meals and then maybe mash a bit, and then give them 1 or 2 spoons, and then the other spoon they'll feed themselves. So and as they get now more comfortable with feeding themselves, then you can stop doing the mashed foods.
Okay. Someone is asking, blending that food, can you sieve it? I think no, you shouldn't sieve it.
No.
Yeah.
That's why I feed them 6 months. A 6-month-old is comfortable, able to eat this. You don't sieve it.
Just show us with your baby how we should hold our baby when we are now giving.
When they are eating, right? Yeah. So I'll sit down. Yes. So ideally, you should have the baby sit by themselves if possible. So if you have a feeding chair or a space, or most of us have that breastfeeding pillow, the breastfeeding pillow, so you can use it to prop your baby right there. So that works well. But the idea is that you should have eye contact with the baby. The baby should be able. You should have very responsive feeding. Responsive feeding means that your baby is looking at you. They are interested in what you're doing. You're being able to. Yes. So the baby needs to be completely upright. I see people holding the baby like this with hands. And holding it. And poor baby. So the baby needs to be seated upright. And so if you're holding them, in fact, I'm usually like, you can even have them looking at you. It's almost like it's not very open. I'd give them a carrot to hold. This is a raw carrot, so they wouldn't even, but they have them just feel interested. And then when you offer the food, I hope everyone can see, when you offer the food, it's not you putting in the baby's mouth. The baby needs to do permission. So they open their mouth, and when they open their mouth, that's when you put the food into the mouth. So when you put the food into the mouth, you make sure that you give the baby time. Because you see it's lumpy, It's not just something they're swallowing. So the baby will chew and get their and get to start until they swallow, then they open their mouth again. So you give the baby time. It's responsive. So you're telling the baby, well, good mama, well done. All those games, they really make it fun for the baby. So no force feeding. Force feeding is a recipe for disaster, because the baby's ears open when they are crying. So if you're force feeding them, very, very easy for them to choke. So make sure that you're not feeding the baby when they are crying. So you can also have them seated like that. Sorry, you can have them seated like that. Yeah, somewhere on a like a feeding chair, and then let them just, you just get them to feed. So baby should be seated in a way that you can communicate with the baby. Try and avoid and have no television, not things, around. Let the baby's attention be where you are. If possible, also be having a meal. Babies they like eating. They're social beings. They like eating when other people are eating. So sometimes they refuse because they're sick. You eat differently, and me, I'm eating alone. So they don't want. But for most babies, when they eat together with the family, you'll find that they eat better and they actually transition much faster. Because what happens, you end up giving them something from your plate. Then with time, you find they're eating everything anyway, so they can transition quickly through to the more family meals. Yeah.
Okay, now we had said about adding salt, and you said we can add a little bit of salt. What about sugar? Get sugar, like if you're giving, I don't know, the baby cereal or the porridge. Is it advisable to?
So I am of the opinion that they will find sugar along the way. So I will not be the one to give them sugar. Sugar really you don't have to, but you can sweeten your baby's food with fruits, for example. So like, for example, an apple, a red apple. So you can peel it, and after you peel it, you grate with a carrot grater. You don't even need to cook it if you're in a hurry. Grate it with a carrot grater. It will form a very nice pulp that's sweet. You can sweeten baby's food or other fruits, or a banana. Mash a banana, add it. It's sweet, it is nice, and you're not having to give sugar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of people asking, are we going to save the live? Yes, it's going to be saved on the Mother Baby KE page. So make sure you're following them. They're going to save it there. Someone is asking, we talked about oil. You said olive oil and you said about butter. Someone is asking, can you also add sunflower oil?
Yes, whichever oils. Actually, I recommend that you don't use just one oil.
Okay.
Every oil has its own benefits for brain development. Some are, we talk about the omega-3, omega-6, they're different kinds of oils. So use different. Today use coconut oil you cook. Tomorrow use sunflower. Another day use olive, use butter. So be experimental. Use different kinds of oils. They are beneficial to your baby's growth. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about choking, because I can see a few questions about that. Like, assuming you're feeding your child and they start choking, what should we do? Because they're going to panic. They're going to panic.
Yeah. Yes. Very good question. Now, mamas or dads who are watching, there's a difference between choking and gagging. So gagging is the thing they do.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what we call choking. That's not choking, that's gagging. And all babies, when you start introducing solids, will gag. And what they'll do is they're trying to figure out, what's that? And it's an instinctive response when solids come into their mouth. So initially, the first few days, babies will gag. So don't panic, because you're actually the one now will make them choke.
Okay.
Because when gag, just give them time. Most babies will do, then figure out, and you actually see they gag, and then they remove and chew the food more. And then they swallow. So gagging the gag reflex is supposed to help them learn how to chew. So as long as the lumps are small, that's why we're making the lumps very small. See, these lumps are so small, they can't block their airway. But because there is that little lumps they are feeling and they're not used to it because they've been taking milk, they gag. So every time, especially at 6 months when you introduce these lumps, baby will gag, but they just gag a little and then they are okay. Now, choking is when you can see that literally something has blocked your baby's airway and they can't breathe. Yeah. So that's different. And usually it happens when a baby takes a very big portion of food that now blocks the airway, and they will not be breathing. With gagging, baby will be breathing just fine. So there's a difference. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do we do now if the baby is choking? Is actually choking?
What choking, So if they're choking, the first thing to do is pick up the baby, look to see if whatever is choking them is close enough for you to remove it. If it's here outside the mouth, it's something that you can pull back. But if you see like it's very deep inside, please don't put your finger in the mouth, because you'll end up pushing it deeper and now make it harder for the baby to remove it. So then you would have to ideally should be seated. I don't know if the camera will be able to get me seated. Yeah. So you can fold your leg like that. Yeah. So like that. And then hold the baby's chin like that. It's like you're elongating the neck. And then using your what did I call it? Your hand there.
Yeah.
Yes, the hand in between the shoulder blades. You will do nice 3 big taps, like, to try and you're trying to get whatever is on the baby's throat. That's causing the choking. So you will hit the baby like that, and then look and see if it's coming out. Continue doing that. So you can do that 3 to 4 times. If by the 3rd time you're not yet there, then of course you need to start CPR. On your way to hospital, you're getting help. Yeah. Yes, but this session is not. I always ask every single mother. Most hospitals actually carry out first aid classes. Yeah. And some of them you might pay a small charge. Some of them are free. Please. Everywhere you go to clinic, ask them when first aid classes are being held. You'll be amazed that available. Yeah, even in public hospitals, they're there. Yeah. There are times they'll say, this particular clinic we deal with first aid. Every mother should learn some first aid skills so that you're able to save your baby's life in case they choke. But prevention is better than cure. So avoid feeding your baby when they're crying. That is a no. That's actually one of the ways that babies choke, and majority of babies choke because they were being fed when they were crying. Secondly, avoid putting your baby flat to sleep immediately after a meal. Ideally, if they've eaten solids, try and hold them up for at least 10 or so minutes, 15 minutes. The way they've just eaten and then they fall asleep. That food can come. So I usually recommend that you can hold the baby upright for like 10 minutes to just allow the food to settle. Or if you put them down to sleep, elevate their head so that they are not flat. Let it be a bit elevated. The other thing is avoid giving very light food. Somebody asked about sieving the food. Yeah. That food is actually very dangerous because it can actually easily enter the airway. So the food needs to be chunky. Yeah, let the food be chunky. Chunky food, but with small lumps, very small lumps, the way I've shown you. That is usually better than the very light foods because it can easily enter the airway. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Someone is saying, how do you know when your baby is full so that you don't continue giving them food?
Oh, fantastic question. So responsive feeding. Responsive feeding means baby is, when they're done, they will close their mouth, they will turn away, they will suddenly get interested in something totally different. And finally, if you're not hearing, they start to cry. So your baby talks to you. So you feed your baby as long as, that's why I say your baby needs to give you permission to open. They're opening their mouth. As long as now they've stopped opening or they start looking really agitated about this whole business, you stop. And babies, imagine like this particular, I don't know if you can see these storage cups, which are also amazing because you can feed the baby from there. Good, and you can also store the food or store even breast milk or anything that you need to store for the baby, you can store in the storage cups. So this food ideally is for an 8-month-old. So this is a lot. So for a 6-month-old,
you can put your fake baby down now.
Oh yes, I can put my fake baby so that you can see. So for a 6-month-old, this is the amount they should eat. Are you seeing?
So little, yeah.
Little, yeah. So sometimes the baby eats this, and then they're done. They actually start looking aside. But then you think they're eating up here. So So they eat very little food. Yeah. So go with your baby's responses. If they're saying no, just leave them. You can wait a bit, an hour or so, and feed them again. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lady who's saying that initially when she started weaning her baby was very interested to start eating. But as time has gone by, like over a few months, now the baby eats very little. Is there something which causes that, or is the baby just getting bored of the food?
Food, yes. Number one, that's usually the biggest. They're just bored. The food has the same flavor, nor it's the same thing. The Kenyan, I call it the Kenyan meal. Malenge na spinach na waru. From Monday, until some babies turn orange because of eating so much butternut. Yeah, so vary it. The same food you eat. In fact, I usually say use your own family meals. If you're eating ugali, let your baby eat ugali that day. If you're eating rice, just give the baby variety. Secondly, babies instinctively know that they need to start learning to feed themselves. So you find that at around 9-10 months, most babies will not be very interested in being fed. They want to feed themselves. So please give them pieces of food to feed themselves, and they'll be now more interested in the food. And then again, lumps. So if you're just doing blended food, there's no, pureed food. There's no adventure. Babies like to chew and to get going. Or sometimes they're not doing responsive feeding, where the baby is just being fed like routine. There's no fun times around feeding. Yes. And finally, unfortunately, it also coincides with teething. So some babies, because they are teething, the gums feel very painful, so they don't want to eat. So usually just try and offer different things so that you can see which ones will eat. Thankfully, when they stop teething, then they're able to eat.
Okay. Can you give us an example of like, okay, you've just started weaning your baby, and let's say you've already done, you said the first 3 months. Oh, sorry. I think my video paused. Sorry. Okay, so let's the first week you said you give your baby, or the first 3 days you give your baby the food once, and then after another 3 days you give the baby the food twice. Now, assuming you've reached the point at which you give baby food 3 times a day, can you give us an example, like the timings, like from morning to evening, at what time you would feed the baby, and at what time the baby is like drinking milk, like breastfeeding or drinking their formula?
Okay, so morning, you'd probably do a breakfast, maybe a porridge, oat porridge, for example, or maize porridge. And timing is different because babies wake up. So the first meal should basically be milk first, whether it's breast milk, breastfeed, because some moms maybe are going to work, so you can breastfeed your baby before you go to work, or give a bottle of milk, whichever. And maybe that's maybe at around 6 a.m., for example. Just by the example. Then maybe at around 8, your baby can now have some porridge that has been prepared. So whichever porridge it is, and you can vary it. On Monday they can do oatmeal. The next day they can do maize. Vary the meals. Then at around 2 hours later, the baby can have milk. We do milk, whatever milk the baby does. Then now it will be lunchtime. Maybe 12 or 1 o'clock. The baby can now have some food that you've prepared, but usually from 6 to 8 months, I usually recommend at that time let them do fruit. Then they do. So you can have a banana, you can have an avocado, mashed with a little banana. So that can be lunch. Then 4 o'clock, they have milk again, or yogurt. But then yogurt is okay to give after 6 months. It introduces good bacteria to the baby. It is easy to digest and helps the baby get all the digestion going. And then, and I'm being told we have 1 minute. Okay, and then now dinner, the main meal. Dinner can be the main meal. So as you can see, milk is a lot. So the food, 6 to 8 months, you just feed around 3 times a day. Then you can go to 3 times with snacks in between after 9 months.
Okay. Guys, we have to say goodbye, but if you want more information about this, please watch this live again if you've missed any information, but also follow Esther the Doula. Your handle is Esther the Doula _, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
So follow her or DM her for more information. I know I will, because I've learned so much in this live that I've been doing wrong. Like, this has been so informative even for me. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Esther.
Thank you, Yummy Mommy.
And thank you so much, Mommy, for this platform. It's been really nice. Like, I feel like we're all learning so much. So thank you, and thank you to Avent Philips as well. I'll be getting that steamer blender for sure.
Yes, please do. It's amazing. Yes.
Exactly. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye. I'm supposed to talk.